So these two lesbians come up to me and they're like holding hands and they're just screaming in my face. And then one of them grabs my hat. I'm outnumbered here. I have my hands full. One of them grabs my hat. The other grabs my flag. The one throws my hat on the ground. I like shove her to the ground, pick up the hat. I chase after the girl. She's got the flag. She throws it in a garbage can. One of the garbage cans where it's like, it's not one where you can have access to it. It has like a padlock on it, where you open up the bottom portion. So I couldn't get it. So I grabbed her and I threw her down. And I eventually retrieved the flag. But then this other girl came up to me. She had seen these events transpire. And she had been standing over from a distance. She was cute. She had these glasses. She's a very like shit-lib looking girl. Very like hippie looking girl. But it worked. Okay, it worked. And she was standing from a distance. And I'm talking to my fellow MAGA-peds, my fellow white supremacists, right? And she comes walking over to me. And she starts into some kind of like rant, some kind of diatribe. And she kept like stuttering. I'm like, you want to go back over there and, try that again? You want to rehearse your lines a little bit more? And in that moment, I did feel a little bit of a connection because she was like, she wasn't really offended by that. She was almost like, wow, like, damn, that just happened. But that's okay. She was like, okay with it. And so to me, that was the only time I was really like, that was an interaction that like wasn't the worst. That felt more natural. That felt more, and even though she was a total shitlib, I felt like a shade of what male-female interactions are supposed to look like, where it's not like, women being superheroes and being, bitch, I'm a bad bitch. I'm a whore, In that moment, I was like, this is just like the old movies. Kind of like a coy girl and antagonistic male. It was just like the old films. But outside of that, never. So I guess they are NPCs. It's women's fault. Ever since I think clearly trace, you can find a very strong correlation between, it's a 1-to-1 correlation between the collapse of civilization and the rise of women's suffrage. 1-to-1. When did they get the vote? Like the 1920s? 1921, I think. And right about there, they get the vote. They get the vote. Rosie the Riveter. They're in the workforce. Pussy hat. Amy Schumer. And then conversely, society. I don't know. And like probably the Earth revolves around the sun, but I don't know. I'm not an astronomer. Okay, Do you think I like went into the textbook and was like, "Yep, there it is. The Earth I looked into my little telescope. The star is over here, and that one's over there, and I didn't. Whatever. Okay, it revolves around the sun. Whatever. Do you think that affects me in my daily life? But I hate pretentious science people who are like, you don't believe in evolution? You don't believe in this? What are you, an idiot? It's like, no, I just don't believe everything that's told to me at face value just because everyone else believes it. People forget that scientists believe dumb stuff that wasn't true forever. They tell us something different every week. One week it's, this is good for you. The next week, this is bad for you. One week, red wine is good for your heart. No, it's very bad for your heart. Oh, dogs' tongues are cleaner than people's. No, actually, they're very dangerous. They don't even know what lightning is. I often have these questions where I'm like, well, what is lightning? What's the process there? Well, it's largely a mystery. Why do I get, sometimes I get a canker sore. I go, why do I get a canker sore? We don't know. Okay, why do we sleep? What's that all about? Oh, nobody knows. Okay, so you don't know anything then, do you? But you're going to get on my case because I don't take it as the gospel truth that you say that we're revolving around the sun. What difference does it make? What difference does Earth? Whatever the Bible says, that's my belief. The Bible has a stronger track record than these fags in lab coats. My test tube says this. I went in the laboratory and I wrote in my little notebook. I looked at this little petri dish and it says that the moon is actually... Yeah, shut the fuck up. You don't know what you're talking about. The Bible is more real than whatever fag experiment you did, idiot. As if I take 1 hour to cook a batch of cookies and Cookie Monster has 15 ovens, working 24 hours a day, every day for 5 years, How long does it take Cookie Monster to make 6 million batches of cookies? I don't know. That's a good question. Certainly, oh, no. It doesn't really sound correct to me. Wait a second. It takes 1 hour to cook a batch of cookies, and you have 15 ovens, probably in 4 different kitchens, right? Doing 24 hours a day, every day for 5 years. How long would it take you to make 6 million? I don't know. It certainly wouldn't be 5 years, right? The math doesn't seem to add up there. The math doesn't quite seem to add up there. I don't think you'd result in 6 million. Maybe 200 to 300,000 cookies. And I think the Red Cookie Association said something like that, probably 200 to 300,000 cookies baked. Probably. And in addition, in this hypothetical, I imagine that if you took aerial photographs over the kitchens, you would need to see certain smokestacks to release the smoke from baking the cookies. And the smokestacks would project certain shadows, but I guess they're not visible in the aerial photographs taken over the kitchens. Moreover, if you look at the soil texture, it's really not deep enough for mass cookie storage underground. And so there's a lot of things. In the cookie kitchen, they say that the ovens are wooden and they have windows on them and they're not totally secure. And the ovens that they use, they actually did sort of an ad hoc use of that particular kind of oven, even though they made a perfectly good design for ovens for a different purpose, for delousing. I mean, for something else. So none of it really adds up. I don't know. It just kind of doesn't really make sense, this crazy cookie analogy. You have to be, that's sort of an esoteric story. That's from Cookie Right. You wouldn't understand that if you're just sort of passing through, if you're just a normie. How a regular person, a decent, hardworking person who is maybe left-leaning, who maybe doesn't believe in the conspiracies, who maybe doesn't believe that there is this rootless internationalist conspiracy at the top. I don't understand. You get home from work, you have your dinner, you turn on the television, you watch the evening news, and then this comes on. And then this comes on. It's Jimmy Fallon with politicized jokes because he has to, because the mainstream media has forced his hand. You're not allowed to not be political. And then they have on Hillary Clinton. She's still relevant after she was crippled in that election. Mitt Romney, John McCain, John Kerry, they went away afterwards. But she is still around. She's still around selling a book and doing political speeches and everything else. And now she arrives. And if that's not enough, now Jimmy Fallon gets out of the chair for the women. Oh, women take the job. I gotta get out of here with the women. It's their turn. Now the female writers are there and they're crying, and they don't even vote, but they're crying. And then Miley Cyrus, like patient zero of Monarch Mind Control, gets up there with this weird haircut with the tattoos. She's in this weird, postmodern outfit, crying, and suddenly she's this patriot. Suddenly she's a political pundit. She's a political influencer. That's what they call it now. And she's crying and she's writing her little note, and I just want to give you a hug. And then you have Jimmy Fallon sitting impotently like a cock in a certain adult film, sitting there watching this liberal hell unfold where Hillary Clinton, the corrupt, evil person who conspired to kill Americans, to hide things from Americans, private position, public position, giving speeches to Goldman Sachs, 4 Americans in Benghazi. Whoops, oh well, billions of dollars at the State Department missing, oh well. Bombing Yemen, bombing Pakistan, intimidating sexually abused people by Bill Clinton, and she's hugging Miley Cyrus, the degenerate, promiscuous propagandist of pot culture, of sexual hedonism, degeneracy on The Tonight Show. And but to the thunderous applause by the masses, and you're sitting there watching on your television. You can't afford your car payment. You can't afford your mortgage. Your kids are degenerates. They're drinking. Their best friend just died at a frat party, and you're watching this on television. Nobody sees anything wrong with this picture. This is okay. This is just normal now. On what planet? On what planet is this progress? They will say things like, men and women aren't the same. Whoa. Free speech should be allowed. Oh, can you handle it? Homosexuals can be Republican too. What? My world is shaking. My world is debris falling from the ceiling. What? Drag queens at a free speech rally? My tiny Democrat brain can't handle it. And so they talk about how these guys are really dark and underground. And I really just have to say this. Look, you know, me and Richard Spencer have had our difficulties in the past. We've had trouble before, and certainly we don't agree on everything. But let me just lay this out for you really clearly, okay? You've got Richard Spencer. Well, you might not agree with him. You might not like him. Whatever. But here he is. He goes out there. He's got a message. He says, I believe in white identity. I believe in a white racial consciousness. I'm against egalitarianism. Blah, blah, blah. He says his thing. In response, he gets kicked off of every payment processor in the country. PayPal, Stripe. He gets kicked off. He gets kicked out of his gym. He gets kicked off social media. He gets de-verified. He gets punched in the face. He's out there. He gets sucker punched. Whenever he does a demonstration, he just gets chased by a mob. He organizes demonstrations. People go and shut them down. The police let them. Either they show up and they actively beat up his supporters, or they mace them, or they hit him with baseball bats or lead pipes, and the police either cooperate or they allow it to happen, they facilitate it, or they just let it go. People threaten to blow up his house with grenades. He's just like the international pariah, and because he says things that people don't like, right? That's Richard Spencer. Anybody who supports him is done. They're finished. They're gone. They if you appear on the same screen as him, you'll never work in this town again. Joshua Larson says, am I wrong to cringe when pundits like Brett Weinstein pat themselves on the back and label their milquetoast ideas as the intellectual dark web? Absolutely, because it's not dark and it's not even intellectual. What it is centrism, and it's not even original. Ben Shapiro goes out there. He has never contributed to the discourse a single original idea, a single original theory. You know, people have it like Ben Shapiro, Dave Rubin, Sam Harris. These are intellectual titans. Somebody like Ben Shapiro, Christina Hoff Sommers, they have never contributed a single new, fresh idea in their lives. It's all reheated neoconservatism, reheated neoliberalism. I could predict everything Ben Shapiro says based on watching Milton Friedman's Free to Choose lecture series from the 1970s, and that should tell you everything. So these people are they're not original, they're not fresh, they're not dark, they're not intellectual. It's safe, PC, kosher centrism.